John, you should hear me now. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the audio tip. You should be able, everybody should be able to hear me now. I forgot in my mixer board to do the audio. So should be coming through loud and clear now. I want to re-announce everyone, if you want to join in, either audio only or face on video, I posted the Skype link within public chat, and I'll go ahead and post it again if you want to join. Again, completely optional. You know, you don't have to, but if you want to, it'll be a great way to talk about wristwatches. You can do face on video, you can do audio only, or you can just chat in the chat. That's perfectly acceptable. So, you know, just a few quick things to remember about the live stream. Anytime I do a live stream like this, if you choose to do so, you can choose to super chat. It's a great way to support the channel. Let's see. John S. says, can't hear you. Let me see if I can hear. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Audio test 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Let's see. Can you hear me now? One two one two. 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Audio 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2. Can y'all hear me now? Let's see. I'm going to tune in on my phone here to see if I can hear it here. Let's see. See if the audio works. 1 2 1 2. Yes, but now the stream keeps starting and stopping. Okay, let me see if I've got some sort of bandwidth issue here. Do I have something that's uploading? Let's see. I'm checking. Let's see. Okay, so you can hear me now. So like John said, the audio issue is resolved, but now the stream is starting and stopping. So let me go into this and see if I can figure out what's going on here. Huh. Okay, there's nothing. Let's see, the stream looks good. I've got good stream health now. I've got 4.6 megabits per second. So I'm streaming pretty nicely there. Let me see what my stream health looks like. Oh, the buffer is full. So why is the buffer full? That's not good. Oh, I think I know what it is. I think I know what it is. Let's see. I'm going to clean up some just some video clips that were filling up. Okay, so hopefully that right there, hopefully that'll recover. It says cache is full. The stream buffer cache is full. That is nuts. Because I'm on like a 50 meg internet. Okay, now, yeah, that's going to start, well, I thought that was going to start to clear it. Okay, now the buffer is reducing. So basically what happened, and John, thanks for your help, sir. Basically what happened is that I had a lot of video content, wristwatch reviews, etc., that I'd filmed with my iPhone 12 Pro. And what had happened, they were in the phone's memory, but they were trying to upload to iCloud. So what was happening is that because my internet's kind of poor connection, they were trying to upload while I'm doing this live stream, and it was creating network congestion. Actually, my buffering, I use ATEM Mini Pro, which is a Blackmagic design live streaming component, but the buffering was full, and now the buffering is starting to trickle down. It's gone from 99%. Now it's down to like 81%. So we can go ahead and get started. Again, I'll go ahead and post. I'll post the link again if anybody wants to tune in on Skype. I don't have my headphones on yet, but if you tune in, let me know and we can chat wristwatches in real time. I just dropped the link within the public chat. But before we get started, I'm going to do something here, and this has nothing to do with wristwatches, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. This is called it's called a Buzz Balls. It says Buzz Balls Chillers Strawberry Rita. Orange wine with natural flavors, certified color in FD&C yellow number 5. Alcohol, 15% by volume, 187 milliliter. I don't know what this has to do with wristwatches, but I went to get, and let's see, it says shake well. I'm going to shake it well. I went to buy some Pinot Grigio, and I saw this on the counter, and I'm like, that does not look good at all, but I'm just going to buy it just for the heck of it, and I'll drink it when I start my live stream. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't know what this is going to be. Let's see what we got here. Oh, and by the way, what's on the wrist, it's a Tudor Black Bay Chrono, the Tudor Black Bay Chrono, inverted panda or reverse panda. Okay, so now I got my Buzz Balls Chillers. Ooh, it smells pathetic. And by the way, this video is not sponsored by Buzz Balls. It's just one of the weird things I just picked up. Hold on. Ugh. Yeah. No. So, let's talk about wristwatches. I don't, if there's nothing good to say, you probably don't want to say it, especially during a live show. So, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And Fly Right Drones, welcome aboard, sir. Welcome aboard. Woo! We got Fly Right. We got John. By the way, John has purchased, and not that I see these transactions, but he messaged me. John got a coffee mug. He got a sweatshirt. You can find the merch down below. It's a great way to choose to support future live streams like this here on Timepieces for tomorrow. But, the thing about this is that, wristwatches are a weird addiction. And let's see, John says, for your information, buffering caused some delay, so the viewers are still catching up with you live. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've got, and actually the infrastructure, and I'm moving to another studio. This studio that I'm in right now, again, like I said, I'm out of Georgia in the United States of America, and my internet connection is not that good out in the sticks in Georgia. So I'm about to move to a different location, and my new studio, I should have a 300 megabit per second internet pipe. So that faster internet, these buffering issues when I've got something concurrently uploading, those should be a thing of the past. So, I know it's annoying. It's annoying for me because I wanted to hop on this show and just be like everything was great. Now, what you watched previously, Fly Right Jones says, I love the Timepieces for Tomorrow theme song. I appreciate that. Actually, it's YouTube content creator, royalty-free audio library. It just gets you excited. That's the whole thing. We want to, when it comes to wristwatches, we want to have this element of excitement because it's something that, a lot of people, wristwatches, especially, mechanical wristwatches, mechanical being manual wind or automatic, it's something that's kind of like an old school thing. But like everything in history tends to repeat itself. So, in the past, things were less technological. John says, I like the theme song as well. I appreciate that. And And the thing about it is that, you know, when you're dealing with wristwatches, proper wristwatches, automatics, manually wound, it's a thing of the past. But again, history kind of repeats itself. So, you know, what was once popular, you know, because of technology, you've got your Apple Watch, and I love my Apple Watch, by the way. I don't call it a watch. I wear it as a fitness tracker because I think a proper watch needs to be automatic or manually wound. John says, I have a lot of family in North Georgia, South Carolina, Appalachia. Yeah, Appalachian Mountains are great, man. I'm up there all the time. I go up there and do backpacking in the Smoky Mountains National Park. You're probably familiar with that. Very good stuff. Slept out in the snow a ton of times. Had bear encounters. The black bears up there typically aren't too aggressive, but you got to realize that when you're, you know, if you ever encounter a black bear, that you should, again, never approach and know that black bear, they own the land. So when you're out there in the wilderness, it's not like, oh, you know, they may look at you as food. So you got to be aware of that. That's something to always be aware of. It doesn't matter what, you know, which wristwatch is on your wrist, that black bear doesn't care. Because that black bear is in his backyard, he owns the land, and he's going to do whatever he wants to do. Now, the reality is that a lot of wildlife in Appalachia, especially the black bears, typically they're non-aggressive. But if they've grown too comfortable with people, and especially if you're a sloppy backcountry camper and you leave food and stuff out, or never put it in your tent, you know, use the bear pulley system. But if you're not careful about what you do, those bears can pose to be a problem. So, you know, always be bear aware, and don't make yourself smell like something that a bear would like to eat. And something you may not realize is that wintergreen gum, any sort of sweets, it doesn't have to be meat. Black bears are attracted to a lot of scents. So if you put toothpaste in your pocket and you got in your tent and went to sleep, yeah, you may wake up with a bear, man. And that would not be a good thing. We got a super chat. John says, I got to love the Rolex and the Tudor. Yes, sir. I got the Tudor on the wrist. The Tudor Black Bay Chrono reverse panda, inverted panda. So, John, if you don't know, check out his wristwatch collection. I reviewed it. Very, very good collection. He's also a fan of Rolex and Tudor, and it's it's great to see. Great to see people, you know, like-minded people that appreciate the obsession. And you know, it's one of those things. Let's see. Fly Jones says, I'm going to have to buy a T-shirt as well. Dude, go for it. You got my merch store link down below, and I appreciate that. That's, it helps to support the channel. Again, I am an independent YouTube channel, so it's y'all's support that enables it to continue to grow. But, yeah, it's an interesting time when we're talking about timepieces. And I'll just tell you how it is. I'm not a wasteful person. If I was, I would just throw this in the trash. I mean, it is horrible. But again, not sponsored by this company in any way. I bought some Pinot Noir, and I decided, I don't know why I decided I'd pick this up. I guess, honestly, what made me think that this was a good idea, potentially a decent idea, is that this caught my attention. It goes to say that the shape of an object on a counter, suggestive sell, even if a sales clerk doesn't try to steer you to buy something, it caught my eye. I mean, it was just kind of a unique shape for some sort of thing. And then I looked at the ABV, and it's 15%. So I'm like, you know what? At least I'll get a buzz off of it. John says, collection update, Black Bay 58 added. So John sent me, his collection review. Check out the video here on Timepieces for tomorrow. Check out the video where I reviewed John's collection. But since reviewing his collection, he's added the Black Bay 58 Navy. the Black Bay 58 Blue. And I think that's a phenomenal addition because, you know, as John commented during the premiere that I posted prior to this live show, the way that the Black Bay 58 just disappears on your wrist. I mean, sometimes you'll be walking around and you'll be like, did somebody steal my wristwatch? Because it feels so light and it blends, you know, the ergonomics of the Black Bay 58, you know, down to the case size, which is 39 millimeters. It's just very cool. And I think that was an excellent acquisition between the two. When I say the two, actually there's a boutique only edition. It's a bronze Black Bay 58. But, you know, choosing between the Black Bay 58 Blue or the original Black Bay 58, which was which I like. It has red on it. It's got red accents, this, that, and the other. But it's also got faux patina, fake patina. The Black Bay 58 Blue does not have fake patina. So I think it's a perfect dive watch, 200 meters, 660 feet of stated water resistance, you know, certified Swiss chronometer at an approachable price point. You know, I think that, you know, Tudor's really knocked it out of the park with the Black Bay 58. And a lot of people like the Black Bay 58, the black one that has the faux patina, and that's fine. I think it's a great looking wristwatch. I'm just not a fan of faux patina. Because when the lume pips on my dial and the bezel and all that starts to fade, I want it to be authentic. So, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with faux patina. You know, people like that. It's kind of like a microwave for watches. You know, you get something, you put it in the microwave, and, you know, it tastes pretty good. Not bad. But is it as good as something that was slowly cooked? Probably not. There's subtle differences. And that's how I look at faux patina, fake patina. It's like microwaving for, you know, faux patina for watches is pretty much the same as microwaving is for food. It can be pretty good. It can be pretty convincing, but it's just not the same. You know, time creates perfection. And when you're rushing anything, you just don't have that element of perfection. And John, I really appreciate the super chat, sir. You didn't have to do that. You know, I am an independent YouTube channel, so it's videos, you know, live streams like this, all my content. It's the product of my own obsession. So, you know, I'm after a lot of things here. I'm after, you know, ultimately growth. This channel is almost at 85,000 subscribers. This channel, I want to get it past 100,000 subscribers as quickly as I can. And then I want to get to 100 million views, because at 100 million views, I get to open the Gosling's Estate Family Reserve. It's a Gosling's rum that I picked up in Bermuda, but I won't open that until I hit 100 million video views here on Irish Guys Adventure Channel. So, and I think now, I haven't pulled it up, was it like 68 million? It's not too terribly far away, but it's still got some distance. So, but yeah, let's talk about wristwatches. You know, let's talk about what, as far as, let's throw this one your way. And I'm gonna bounce off of Teddy Baldassar. And Teddy's a really good guy. He's one of the big wristwatch personalities in the world. And I will tell you, I feel, and my perception is that I feel that Teddy Baldassar's YouTube presence, I feel that's very authentic. I feel that he's earned connections with some of the big people, the big media people. I mean, heck, he does videos, he does collaborations with Mr. Wonderful off of Shark Tank. I think that my assumption, at least, is that Teddy's rise within the ranks has been the product of his content. I mean, he's created great content. You know, I mean, what can you do better than getting a collaboration with someone like Mr. Wonderful off of Shark Tank? I mean, he's doing things right. He's got great production quality. His commentary is great. And he doesn't only tackle just the cheap wristwatches. John S. says, got to enjoy the simple things in life, Saturday nights, and wearing Tudor, Rolex, or JLC, Jeje-le-Coute. And it's, there's nothing wrong with simple things. I mean, simplicity, here's the thing. I mean, a lot of people, good things don't have to cost dollars. I mean, there's things that do require dollars to access just because of how it is. But, you can enjoy a simple, for example, I could go out and order a corn dog at a drive-thru that makes a corn dog better than anybody else. Not a chain, just an independently owned corn dog drive-thru restaurant. And I can go order that corn dog. And to John's point, I could have a Tudor, I could have a Rolex, or a Jeje-le-Coute on my wrist, and it would amplify the experience because it's just and it's not a cockiness, but it's just the feeling that one gets when you have an acceptable wristwatch on your wrist. I mean, it doesn't have to be, it's not the dollar amount. It's just the design and the feel. I mean, for example, this right here, Tudor Black Bay Chrono. I mean, this is not a super expensive timepiece, but it still makes you feel good. I can jump into the swimming pool. I can jump into the hot tub. I can go wherever I want to go, and I feel better because I've got an acceptable timepiece on my wrist. I sleep with a timepiece. I never take a timepiece off my wrist, except when I'm doing a workout, and then I've got my Apple, well, I don't even call it the Apple Watch, but I call it the Apple Fitness Tracker because that's what it is. But, that's the only time I don't wear a proper watch. I could drink something like Buzz Balls with this stuff. No offense, and some people may like it, but I've developed a very refined palate when it comes to wine and beer and scotch, and this stuff is offensive. No offense. I mean, if this is your company and you're watching this, no offense, but this stuff is, I guess it'll do what you want it to do, and that's give you a buzz, because it is 15%. Do I enjoy it? I definitely don't. I definitely do not enjoy this. This is a challenge at best. Let's put it that way. But I'm going to drink it anyway because I don't waste anything. And that's one thing that irritates me in today's world, regardless of how wealthy an individual may be or how broke they may be, people that waste. There is no excuse for waste. It's just, it's stupid. It really is. It's a waste of, it's not only impolite, it's inconsiderate. It's just bad for the world as a whole. So let's talk about watches. What do y'all think about Tissot? Tissot with the PRX has done a really good job. And that's something I was talking about earlier with Teddy Baldassar. Teddy's had several Tissot videos, and I thought that it was interesting, someone of his caliber on YouTube and someone of his caliber that has connections like Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, how do they approach these brands like Tissot? He also did Longines, which historically Longines was a very well-respected Swiss watch manufacturer. They kind of had their marketing pitfalls, this, that, and the other. But he approaches some of the wristwatches that are more accessible from a price point perspective, but he does it in a way that actually, highlights the value that those pieces bring to the table. And we're going to, within this live show, we'll talk about whatever y'all want to. But one of the things that I'm going to kind of segue into after I drink this, whatever this is, is the brands that are kind of, especially if you're new or newer to the wristwatch world, things that you may not think of. And one of those things, one of the obsessions I always had was Ulysses Nardin, UN. You know, they always call it UN, Ulysses Nardin. When you look at Ulysses Nardin as a brand, you look at something that's kind of, you know, a lot of their timepieces are a little bit, trying to think of a respectful way to say this. A lot of them are, they kind of look bad. They got a lot of colors and overly busy dials and bezels and this, that, and the other to kind of detract from the fact that it's a very high-end Swiss wristwatch manufacturer. But there are exceptions, and one of the exceptions that I found, and you know, I told myself, you know, when I'm on an island that has a Ulysses Nardin authorized dealer, I'm going to get a Ulysses Nardin. And actually I did. I got one in St. Kitts. But, you know, looking at the Ulysses Nardin authorized dealer, going in, trying on the various wristwatches, you know, Ulysses Nardin's kind of a big thing. You know, they like to steer you towards a rubber strap. You know, obviously a rubber strap is, you know, less expense for the manufacturer. But a rubber strap is also very comfortable. But what a lot of people don't realize about Ulysses Nardin, and I feel like I definitely got the one and done Ulysses Nardin. I don't care to explore anymore. And I mean, unless somebody wants me to do so. But, you know, the Ulysses Nardin Maxi Marine Diver is an exceptional timepiece. You're getting outstanding comfort. You're getting outstanding wrist presence. And the one that I got was on a stainless steel bracelet that's, you know, polished center links and brushed outer links. I mean, it looks really good. It's an exceptional. I get more compliments on that wristwatch than I do any of the others. And people are like, "Well, what's that?" And you say Ulysses Nardin. You know, in their mind, they're just like, "Oh, that's nothing." It's a very high quality, very high end timepiece, but because of their marketing, they can't compete with Omega. They can't compete with Rolex. They can't even compete with Breitling. But Ulysses Nardin, I love Ulysses Nardin. You know, the one I got with the burgundy dial, the quilted pattern, you put it out in the sunlight, it's like boom. You know, Ulysses, and this is a Tudor Black Bay on my wrist, but it's just a very exceptional timepiece. We got people commenting here. We got Fly Right Drones. Fly Right Drones says, Irish guys enjoys the finer things in life. I definitely do. Within a reason, man. Everything I do, I want a coupon code. I want a budget. You know, how can I approach that from the most economical perspective possible? Now, there are some exceptions. Fine dining. You know, if it's a situation where I'm going to pass up a very fine meal for a few $100, there's no chance in the world I'm going to pass that up because I'm going to do it. And I'm going to review it, and I'm going to make ad revenue off my reviews. NATO says, hey, Irish guy. NATO, good to have you here, sir. NATO is a very, very cool dude. Actually, a fellow follower of the Pontiff, Archibald Chesterfield III, AC3, the most knowledgeable wristwatch personality in the world, without a doubt. There's no doubt about it. Ugh, this stuff is horrible. No offense. I mean, if you're watching this, whoever created this is, ugh. I'm still going to drink it all. I don't waste anything. But yeah, Ulysses Nardin's a really cool brand. Far Right Jones says, fanciest watch I ever owned was a Citizen Eco Drive. I spent all my money on drones, Mavic 3 especially. There you go. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Hey, and, you know, a Citizen, nothing wrong with a Citizen. Nothing wrong at all. Nothing wrong at all. I'm going to throw this in the trash. Hold on. I'll be right back. Ugh. Drank the last bit of this. Ugh. I'll be right back. Okay. That was not, suggestive sell. Speaking of suggestive sell, one of my viewers, actually a few of y'all said, hey man, get some gloves. It's less distracting when I'm talking about when I'm doing the wristwatch review. So I got these. Again, I appreciate y'all's feedback, but these things have enabled me to better highlight the detailed elements of timepieces while I'm reviewing them. And actually these, I can use my smartphone with the fingertips. So that's kind of cool. But I was going to be at the London Watch Show in London, England, and that was my intent. Actually, Archibald Chesterfield III, AC3, he's there. Tim Wright's there, a bunch of people, a bunch of big YouTubers in the wristwatch space. But I didn't get to go because, and again, I'm not, this is not political when I say this, but I made a medical choice to not do something, and it prevented me from going to the United Kingdom. But it turns out that on March the 18th, and thanks to a viewer of mine, and it was deeply appreciated they said this, but apparently they lifted the requirements to have certain vaccines to enter London, England. So I could have been there at the London Watch Show, but it wouldn't have worked out logistically because I would have had to have my airfare and all of that planned in advance. And the fact that they only released that, whatever revision of policy or whatever you want to call it on March the 18th, it still wouldn't have worked. But I'm really highly jealous of all the people that I know that are in London right now for the London Watch Show, because that would have been an extremely awesome event, not just from an entertainment perspective, but concurrently from a wristwatch community collaboration perspective. I mean, we would have been able to film a ton of videos, this, that, and the other. So I missed out on that, and I'm deeply disappointed. I'm I'll tell you, man, I'm so jealous of the people that are there. Because I mean, this hobby, this addiction is something that's also monetizable. I mean, you talk about this stuff, people want to listen. There's not, it's not like other subject matter where it's overly saturated with content. I mean, when you're dealing with wristwatches now, I mean, you're dealing with it's a more niche or niche, however you want to say it. I say niche, you may say niche. I don't care what you say, but it's a more niche audience. And I think it's just interesting to see, part of my passion with the whole thing, not just the wristwatches, but social media as a whole, has just been all of the different elements, how people interact, how do people grow, as far as metrics are concerned, subscriber growth, video views, et cetera, how do people grow? And then you see the ones that aren't organic, the ones that go from, you see a YouTuber, and I'm not going to pick on anybody in particular, but you know who they are. You see a YouTuber, they go from 5,000 subscribers to 120 or 140,000 subscribers in a matter of months. And you watch their content, and it's good, but it's not great. How do they do that? There's a lot of questionable things that, people can observe during this YouTube journey. The thing about timepieces for tomorrow, my whole reason for this, it's multifold. Number one, I really enjoy wristwatches, and I've enjoyed wristwatches before I was even introduced to social media, before social media even existed, before the internet was even mainstream. I'm talking about Prodigy, CompuServe, AOL times. I'm an old dude. That was back in the day. But now I look at, wristwatches as kind of And I know Archie Luxury is the original OG, but I look at myself as a semi-OG from the perspective that, I can share my passion, my lessons learned throughout the many years. I'm an older dude. I can share that and I can package it within a social media platform, which enables me to monetize it. And I'm not in this just for the money. Don't take me wrong, I'm not. But if I said I wasn't in it for the money, I'd be a fool. My time is valuable. I run multiple companies. I work a few jobs. I do a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's not just wristwatches. It's not wristwatches only. Would I love it to be wristwatches only? No doubt. And that's where I'm pegging. I'm filling out. I'm doing this, that, and the other. I'm trying to fill the environment and say, well, where can I go? How can I better path myself for success? I mean, it's a tough game. It really is. It really is. But at least my bandwidth cleared up and I got zero buffering. Maybe I need to design networks for a living. Who knows? Yeah, it's an interesting craft, interesting addiction. And what I want to do, and admittedly, this live show got a little bit off kilter because I didn't have my audio working in the beginning. I didn't have that, and then I had the buffering issue because of the uploads. I canceled the uploads, I identified the root cause, I fixed that. But it's still upsetting when you don't have things go off without a hitch. But what I do want to tell y'all, and I don't, I'm not trying to be boastful or whatever about this, but I do have a new studio, a physically new studio that I'm about to move my live streams to. And this new studio will be production quality. This new studio, professional acoustics and lighting and more space. I'm going to be able to do more elaborate backdrops, this, that, and the other. And it's really going to take the Timepieces for Tomorrow live streams to a, not just the next level, but to the level where I want it to be. My focus with this channel has always been growth. It's always been having a good time, remaining, not just being independent, but remaining independent, having a good time, enjoying my audience, listening to your questions, responding to your questions in the form of videos, and interacting with everyone during live shows, and just having a great time with everyone here. I mean, this is a virtual community, but a virtual community in today's world is kind of a real community in a certain way. And admittedly, my real world interactions, they have very rarely have anything to do with wristwatches. My real world interactions very rarely have anything to do with social media. My real world is not the world that I've created. John S. says, what watches do you wear the most right now? Well, actually, this one right here is one of them, the Tudor Black Bay Chrono Reverse Panda. And the reason I wear it, and I'll go ahead and answer your question, the ones I wear the most, but I'll kind of elaborate on a little bit of them. The Tudor Black Bay Chrono, one of the ones that I wear the most, number one, because it's not a Rolex. I mean, I love Rolex, but I don't want to be the guy that always wears a Rolex, because that's kind of like, what's the word, ostentatious or whatever it is, kind of cocky or whatever. I don't want to be the guy that always wears a Rolex, but I want to be the guy that always has the quality. What I like about the Tudor Black Bay Chrono is that I can wear this. I still feel like I got a Rolex on my wrist, but as far as people are concerned, that I encounter throughout the day, they probably don't know what a Tudor is. They're just like, it's a good looking wristwatch. And if they get close enough to see the dial, to read the dial, so what? They read it and it doesn't say Rolex. So, I'm not a snob or whatever. I wear this one a lot. The other one that I wear a lot is the Tudor Black Bay 58 in navy. John, just like you have the Tudor Black Bay 58 blue, just because it feels so comfortable on the wrist. As you had mentioned earlier, I mean, it just kind of disappears on the wrist. not just, not, not optically, but it disappears on the wrist from a wearability perspective. Just very, very well proportioned, highly capable when it comes to water resistance, this, that, and the other. So the Tudor Black Bay Chrono, the Tudor Black Bay 58, I wear both of these excessively. Other watches that I wear the Breitling Super Ocean Heritage 2 quite a bit. That's the blue with the ceramic bezel and 42 millimeters. It's got a unique look. I like it on the shark mesh. It feels good. It doesn't try to be a Rolex or whatever, and it's a very good piece. When I want to wear something that's very well crafted, very high end, but people don't know what the heck it is, I wear the Ulysses Nardin Maxi Marine Diver, because when I wear that at 42.7 millimeters, it's got an acceptable wrist presence. If you look at the finishing of the dial and the bracelet and everything, it's ultra high end. It's a very off the radar piece. Also, and stepping down from the ones that I wear the most, those are the ones that I wear the most. Also wear the Panerai PAM 112. I flip out the straps. I go with rubber, I'll go with leather, I'll go with sailcloth. A PAM 112 manual wind, Panerai. Very cool, very interesting looking piece, but people don't know what the heck it is. So that's kind of an off the radar piece. I wear that. I wear the Omega Seamaster 300M pre-coaxial blue wave dial, the Pierce Brosnan. I wear that. It's nice. That was actually the first proper Swiss wristwatch that I purchased. And other than that, talking about lesser on the spectrum, I wear the Breitling Super Avenger, which I bought on my honeymoon, but I don't wear as much recently because it's too big. It's like 47 millimeters, and I may have misquoted the size, but it's around 47 millimeters. It's too big according to today's standards. But what I did, I took it off of the stainless steel bracelet, the Pro 2 Breitling bracelet, and I put it on the leather strap to make it the visual perception of the piece to wear a little bit smaller. So I still wear it a little bit. Also wear the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Control. I've got that in 40 millimeters on a stainless steel bracelet. Most of the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Control you're going to find on a leather strap, but I wear it on a stainless bracelet because it's unique, very high end. That's my high horology piece, exhibition case back, gold, gold in the movement, very, very visually pleasing timepiece to look at. So I wear that quite a bit. Rolex Oyster Perpetual 39 millimeter Polar. Rolex Oyster Perpetual 39 millimeter with a white dial. I wear that sometimes when I just want to, I want to have the Rolex, but I don't want to say, hey, I got a Rolex on. I wear that. It's smaller on the wrist. It's very comfortable. It's got the Oyster style bracelet, but it's just kind of an interesting piece. Let's see. What did I forget? Did I forget anything? No. And John says, 100% understand, especially because I'm younger and I don't want to say, yes, it's a Rolex I'm wearing. That's why Tudor is so great, quality with no stigma. No, you're right. Yeah, that is one of the reasons why Tudor is so great, because your average person on the street, and it doesn't have to be a wristwatch, it could be a suit, it could be a pair of shoes. I mean, when I go out, when I'm going out to a business function, I'm not, I'm not going to go out with like no watch and no shoes. I mean, my shoes are going to be Ferragamo. My wristwatch is going to be, it could be a variety of different wristwatches. I'm not trying to flaunt, I'm not trying to look cocky or whatever, but when it comes to the world of business, in my opinion, and a lot of people would second this statement, in my opinion, what matters when it comes to business is the watch and the shoes. They're so important. I mean, nothing flashy, nothing gaudy or whatever, but just traditional and well-known elegance. And I mean, it's hard to beat a Rolex on the wrist and it's hard to beat a pair of Ferragamos on the feet. I mean, that's just my opinion. You know, something that's simple, but it makes a statement without saying a word. But I can appreciate what you're saying about, you know, being younger, and you don't want to just, you know, people look at your watch, say, "It's a nice watch, what is that?" And they see Rolex, and they think you're, you know, they may think you're a snob or whatever. You know, that can send kind of the wrong message. But the thing is with the Tudor, I mean, this Tudor, for example, that I got on my wrist right now, most people wouldn't know what it is. Like, that's a nice watch. They look at it. They don't know anything about wristwatches, and they're like, oh, yeah. And they're disappointed because they wanted to see Rolex or whatever on it, and they don't see it. So I can completely connect with what you're saying in regards to wristwatches. I mean, it's, you know, you don't, it's not, if people care about what the dial says or what the bracelet says, they're in this addiction for the wrong reason. I mean, this is not a hobby where it's like, well, I'm going to get this and I'm just going to be something else. You know, you think you get something, you got a, you know, Rolex or whatever brand on your watch, you think that you're better than anybody else. That's not what it's all about. What this is about is quality. And it just so happens that Rolex is one of the most quality wristwatch manufacturers out there. And they're not the only wristwatch manufacturer, but they're one of the top quality wristwatch manufacturers. And it's something that, you know, it'd be hard for people to dispute. So, you know, I completely agree with where you're coming from. And that's why I find myself wearing Tudor a lot more, because I interact with a bunch of, I operate, and I will never talk about it with any of my videos on social media, but I operate a ton of, concurrently operate a ton of business ventures. And one of the things that I'm always self-conscious about is perception. You know, perception is often reality. And something that I don't want to do is offend people with a negative perception. So from an optics perspective, John, from an optics perspective, Tudor is great because, you know, as you mentioned, you know, you're getting that quality, but you're not getting that potentially negative stigma. And that's the thing. I mean, you know, you and I both know, you know yourself, you know, every wristwatch you bought, I mean, every Rolex I bought it because I'm a hustler. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm a hustler. I mean, that's what I do. You know, I always work. I work hard, and I choose to reward myself in ways that potentially, if I ever had to, you know, if I ever became a failure in life or whatever, you know, I could dump those assets and get myself back on my feet. So, you know, I completely understand where you're coming from with the you know, the Rolex stigma, and there's no stigma with Tudor, at least currently. But what's funny is that because of their brand ambassadors, you got David Beckham, you know, the list goes on. Tudor is going to become the next Rolex, in my opinion. It's already got the technology. It's still fighting the, oh, it's just a poor man's Rolex. But they're about to step outside of that, because there will no longer be a Rolex for even a very successful person, because they're going to be so up market. So Tudor is going to backfill Rolex. NATO says, is that a top shelf whiskey there, Irish guy? Oh, this? You know what this is? I'll tell you what this is. Hold on. I'm going to do a video. I'll post a video review of it in a few days. This in my glass right now is a no season IPA India Pale Ale. I do love my whiskey though, but this is just an India Pale Ale. John S. says, however, I think you have to have a Rolex and Tudor, but Rolex is a powerful word nowadays. Have to be careful who knows you have it. Hey, very true. You know, you know, and John, I'll share with you and everybody, you know, I've always wanted every man needs a Rolex. And I always wanted a Rolex, and I guess it was back in, was it 2012 or 2013? I said, you know what? I'd contacted the authorized dealer before I headed down there. I was selling through through the Cayman Islands, and I stopped in Grand Cayman, and I went to authorized dealer Kirk Freeport. Very good people. And at that point in time, they had every Rolex. They had the Daytona, they had the Batman, they had the Hulk. They also had new old stock Kermit. They had it all. And when I went in there, I knew that I wanted the Rolex Submariner, the 114060. The no date, very good dial symmetry, very highly iconic, never going to go out of style. Black goes with anything. Just the perfect wear anywhere sports watch or dress watch, wherever you want to wear it, however you want to wear it. So when I went in there, I got it. And I went in there and actually I got a discount, because this is when you could haggle for a discount at an authorized dealer. Good luck doing that now, even if they have a wristwatch in stock. And see, that's where the optics are different. I got in on the tail end. Actually, my first wristwatch, and John, you'll appreciate this, when I got married in 2009, I was in St. Thomas. Actually, I was in Peter Island in the in the British Virgin Islands, but took a yacht over to Charlotte Amalie in St. Thomas, and I was going to buy a nice wristwatch. I was going to buy Breitling, buy a Rolex, maybe an Omega. Those are the brands that I had on my radar. I went into the Rolex boutique, which no longer exists. Well, they've still got a boutique, but it's not the scale that it was back in 2009 in Charlotte Amalie waterfront in St. Thomas, and tried on the various Rolex wristwatches, and it was interesting. I put them on, and at that point in time, my mentality, and it's kind of what you hinted at, and that's why I'm saying this, it was kind of like, the stigma. I didn't want to be the guy that was, at that point in time in 2009, see, how old would I have been? 29 years old, man. I was still a young buck. So I didn't necessarily want to show up, after my wedding and, have a Rolex on the wrist for the optics. So for that reason, I followed at least what was popular on social media at that point in time was Breitling was, the perception at that point in time in 2009 was that, Breitling was for the people that had the money, and Rolex was kind of for the people that wanted to act like they had the money. So intentionally, in my mind, when I was in the authorized dealer, and they had everything. I tried on Explorer 2, I tried on Daytona, I tried on Submariner. But when I tried those timepieces on, and granted, in 2009, they didn't have the ceramic Submariner at that point in time, so it was the aluminum bezel. But when I tried them on, and then I tried the Breitling zone, it was just like, wow, Breitling feels superior on the wrist. It was a heftier wrist presence. It had, it was a larger size, this, that, and the other. And at that point in time, larger diameter wristwatches were more popular. So I was kind of a victim of the then, and the then was that, you wanted a larger wristwatch. Rolex didn't have it. You wanted something that was under the radar. To your point, I wanted that. I didn't want the optics. I didn't want negative. I was touching my touchscreen on my Rodecaster Pro, but I didn't want the negative perceptions that could come as a result of having a Rolex on my wrist. So I went with the Breitling Super Avenger, which is a great piece, but the only reason I went with that, number one, I've never been the guy, even back in 2009, that thought I had to have a Rolex to be like, feel like I was successful. I got that Breitling, and I'm like, what? In my mind, I was more than successful because I tried on the Rolexes. I could have purchased the Rolex, but I bought the Breitling instead because I felt that it put me a tier above the Rolex people as far as looking at people's wrists, which, I mean, you know, that sounds really stupid, but the bottom line is I bought that because I could have bought the Rolex at that point in time, but I didn't, because I didn't want the perceived negative optics, you know, going forward, because I'm going to wear it. You know, at that point in time, the only wristwatch I had was my Omega Seamaster 300M pre-coaxial blue wave dial. So, and NATO says, Archie would say you fiked that up. All right, no doubt I did. And I would completely agree with Archie 100%. And you know, around that time is when I actually initially discovered Archibald Chesterfield III, Archie Luxury, AC3. A guy that to today I highly admire, and I wish I had been in London for the London Watch Show, because it'd be awesome to meet him. If he ever comes to the United States, it's going to be an awesome party, and I look forward to that. But it's just, you know, the wristwatch knowledge, the perceptions, this, that, and the other, not just with your peers and your family, but also your work environment. I mean, do you want to be, at that point in time, 29 years old, that was kind of a young guy. You know, a young guy wearing a Rolex. Well, what's this guy doing? You know, what's his side hustle? This, that, and the other. You know, you don't want to, you may not want to raise eyebrows in certain ways. So, John S., I can completely see where you're coming from. And John S. says, NATO, have you considered swapping for a Black Bay 58? And NATO says, I'm in a love-hate relationship with my Tudor Black Bay 41. Just when I'm about to sell it, I stop myself and keep it. I know I'll just rebuy it anyway, so I mix it up with different straps. NATO says, Archie Luxury was on stage with Top Wigs. Surreal. I got to check out that video. Man, dude, I would have loved to have been there, because, you know, here's a funny thing, and I'm going to go into a rant. I'm going to go into a rant regarding Archie Luxury. And John, then I'll get to your question, sir. Archie Luxury, whether you like it or hate it, whether you were offended by his delivery, his old school delivery was pretty blunt, and it offended a lot of people. But whether you agreed or disagree with the delivery, one of the things that nobody can argue with is the fact that Archie Luxury knows wristwatches inside and out. There's no disputing that. I mean, he is a top brass individual, or I would say top gold individual when it comes to wristwatch knowledge. There's no disputing that. John says, Irish guy, any marriage advice in modern America? My best marriage advice, man, I got married in 2009, so I'm an old dude. You know, do what you want to do. My best advice, if you think that it's a questionable marriage, you know, you think you're rushing into it, whatever, you know, my best advice would be to, you know, to get a prenup. I mean, even if you're not worth anything at that point in time, get, and I'm not a lawyer, but get with your lawyer and get them to negotiate whatever terms. And then that way, when and if you decide to get married, whatever you get into, you know, you've got a thoroughly documented out, you know, should things go south, because you can't trust anybody. You can't trust anyone. You can't trust the world around you. So, you know, things can happen. And even if, and again, you know, people that may not be, or they may not feel that they're high net worth at that point in time, you know, in my opinion, one should always assume that they might become a high net worth individual within the next few months or the next few years. So protect your assets. That's my best advice. That is my best advice. NATO says Archie's ability to sniff out a rat is second to none. Nana Kim. Yeah, Archie Luxury, he is, one of the best things, and I know you've got your favorite AC3 Archie Luxury moments. Some of the best memories I have of Archie Luxury, number one, that time that he went out to Oxley State High and he ate the pizza on the side of the fence. Just eating pizza on a YouTube video. I mean, that just shows his character. I mean, that was awesome. And then the other times where he was working as and nothing wrong. I mean, I'm not insulting anybody. I mean, everybody works a job and they do it. I mean, this is not being discriminatory in any way, and don't perceive it that way. But the fact that someone, a Patek Philippe wearing individual working at a waste processing plant, I mean, those were some of his best videos. I mean, when he was in that mode and he was in the, he was the taxi driver and this, that, and the other, when he was in that phase of his life, some of those videos were so authentic and so awesome. I mean, it's just like, yeah, NATO says the fat camp. Yeah, I mean, John says, I give you juice and shower. Yeah. No, you got to admit, and Archie Luxury is a unique cat, and admittedly, a lot of my wristwatch knowledge when I was researching wristwatches, that's how I found him, because his videos kept popping up. Not necessarily because he was good with SEO, search engine optimization, but just because of the subject matter that he had at that point in time on the internet was not as prevalent. So, his hits continued to hit. And it was just interesting to see how all this stuff came together. But guys, I really appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. I'm going to do a lot more live shows, and it's, NATO says he was filming the English rubbish trucks. Yeah. I mean, we got to do a lot more live shows. My goal is not to go after Archie Luxury, Archibald Chesterfield III, because, admittedly, I haven't met him in person. If I'd been to the London Watch Show, we would have had some awesome collaborative YouTube videos. But, my goal is to interact with the wristwatch community, ultimately to propel my brand, Timepieces for Tomorrow, sell merchandise. I want to get a connection with a reputable pre-owned wristwatch dealer, because I want to have access. You send me wristwatches that I can put on my wrist and talk about during upcoming Timepieces for Tomorrow videos, and then also be able to, the hiccups, be able to push traffic to your pre-owned wristwatch dealer website. Hybrid Life. I can't clap too loud, man. I can't clap too loud. I'm going to wake people up. But, yeah, this is just one of many shows. I do want to say to Hybrid Life, it's a bummer that, let's see, what was I going to say? Hybrid Life, we got to get on for a live show. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about your recent acquisitions. If you don't know Hybrid Life is a super duper, super duper collector. So we got to do another collaboration here soon. Talk about wristwatches. Everybody, I'm a little bit deep in this show. Let's see, it's been going for an hour and 7 minutes. Time is money. Got to make the money. And John S., great stream. Irix, John S., pleasure having you, sir. Thank you for consuming your morning coffee from the Timepieces for Tomorrow and Irix Guys Adventure Channel coffee mugs. I really appreciate it. Everybody, thank y'all for tuning in. Thanks for your feedback. Stay tuned for another live show soon, and y'all have a good day. And wear your wristwatches in good health, as they would say over there across the pond. See you later.